Hello, and welcome to episode 23 of Design Curious Podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. And if you read the title of this episode, then you are interested in a career of interior design, and you're wondering what the path is that you're going to take to get there. So I'm going to lay that out for you today, so you will know from where to start to where you'll end up to becoming an interior designer. It's so exciting. Before we get into that, I also want to mention that I have a download that you will probably be interested in on my website. So if you go to ourworddesign.com/podcast, you'll see it on there. And it is the 3 things I wish I had known before I started my career. And so you're going to want to download that to see what 3 things I am talking about, because I know you're interested in the career and you're going to want to get that. And then I'll also put you on our mailing list. So each week you'll get the podcast in your inbox, as well as some bonus material sometimes I send out to the email list. So you're not going to want to miss any of that, especially if you're considering a career in design. You want to get all of this information. All right, so let's get into the roadmap to becoming an interior designer. You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode. Okay, so you have decided that you are interested in interior design, and obviously you are because you're listening to this podcast, but I've kind of outlined the path that you can take from that moment you decide, hey, I want to be a designer. What does that mean? Where do I go from here? To actually being a practicing designer. So where you start is where we are right now. So you do your research about the career. You listen to podcasts and do some online research and talk to people and have coffee with a designer or something like that to really get to know what the career is all about. See if it's something that you want to do for a long term and really just take the time to explore it. You can visit different industry websites as well, like ASID, IIDA, Interior Design Society, and each of those put out publications. There's magazines and things like that that you can read to really get a handle on what the career might entail. Of course, you can also do My Design Mentor, which is my membership group that I can coach you through answering all your questions and helping you get on to that path. Okay, so then next, what you want to do is to take some classes. So you might want to enroll for a 2-year or 4-year degree in interior design if you're academically inclined, if you have the time to do it and the motivation. Some people really want to, when they're set out to learn something, they want to learn it fully to the fullest extent, and getting a degree in that thing is what's going to give them the confidence to move forward in that career. But other people are like, just give me the basics and I'll take it from there. So if that's you, then you might want to take a few courses just to get started. And I'm going to talk about that upcoming in a few episodes about which 5 courses I would recommend you start with if that's what you're going to do, if you're just going to bypass the degree altogether and just take a few courses and then get your career jump started. After that, once you've taken a few courses, then you'll be a little more marketable for getting an internship with a designer. So I'd say this hands-on experience is a step that you're going to want to not skip. To be able to even just shadow a designer for a day or a couple of days would be the minimum, I would say, just to get a handle on the career and what it entails. But if you can do an internship for a few weeks or a few months, that would be definitely beneficial. And I talk all about internships in episode 5. So if you missed that, go back to episode 5. And that's the do's and don'ts of an internship. You're going to want to check that out. But like I said, the hands-on experience is where you get the most useful knowledge about interior design and it really lays the foundation for going forward and actually having a career in interior design. So then once you've interned a place, you have a little bit of experience that makes you even more marketable. Perhaps you could get hired on by the person you're interning with, or they might have connections to someone who is hiring, who wants an entry-level job. So then you can apply for a job, and likely the position that you'll have starting out would be a design assistant or a junior designer, depending on your level of qualifications. And a junior designer will likely assist a senior designer with their work, include some preliminary furniture or finish selections, creating design boards, drafting layout options, and then likely be in charge of creating internal tracking documents for processing orders and maintaining the sample library, picking up samples and other things like that. So that's probably where you'll start out, unless, of course, you decide to go in business for yourself. But I always recommend that working for someone else is a good idea, because it really gives you an eye to see what the business entails before you go on your own. You can see also if you want to have your own business, if you'd rather just work for someone else and get a paycheck and not have to worry about necessarily bringing in the client. Or if you want to go on your own and have a lot more autonomy with that, then you'll have the experience of working with someone else. So that's the path I would suggest. Now, as a bonus to you, I have this all laid out as a nice downloadable format so that you can go to the show notes, and we'll have that available for you there. And this kind of outlines what I was talking about today from start to finish. And this would be a great episode to share with your friends who might also be thinking about interior design, or just for you to have something that's spelled out specifically. Here's step 1, here's step 2, 3, and 4. So good luck to you if that's the path that you're on. And of course, feel free to reach out. And like I said, I am here to help you along the way in my design mentor, where you can really get down to details with me and I can give my full opinion. I have a great student in there. She's been in over a year now, and it's been great to help her along her way on her path from just starting out and seeing where she was to go, because she's has a career before. She's a mom, and she wasn't necessarily wanting to go back to school full time. So I've helped her get a few courses online and given her some sample projects even to work on from my own studio, and given her feedback on her projects as she's starting to get her own clients. And so it's just been fun to see her on this path. And if that's something that you'd like me to help you with as well, then check out my design mentor. I'd love to see you in the program. So that is the roadmap to becoming an interior designer. It's a simplified version, of course, but like I said, you're in the right place by listening to podcasts. There's many other great podcasts out there that can tell you about the business of design, about the career a little bit, or just what the industry is like. So go do your research, or you can also come to me in my design mentor and I can work with you there. And then go back and listen to episode 5, because you want to hear that about the internships. And then upcoming, I think it's going to be episode 25. You're going to want to listen to that about what courses you could take if you're starting out, and especially if you're not going to go to get a degree at school. You might just want to take a few courses here and there. Then episode 25 is going to be for you. All right, that's it for me today. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I'd love to have you slide into my DMs and let me know what your questions are about the career or any topics you'd like me to discuss on the podcast. I am open to suggestion, and I want to make sure that I'm speaking to you and answering all the questions that you might have. So reach out to me on Instagram at @OurWardDesign. Of course, check out our website and leave me a review and a rating so I know that you're listening and that you're hearing this great information. We'll see you next week for a great interview with a friend of mine, locally, a colleague, who has so much great advice. I actually made it into 2 parts, so you'll hear her in episode 24 and 26. All right, so we'll see you next week and you can hear about that. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, Please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, rwarddesign.com, or email me at podcast@rwarddesign.com.